Have you ever noticed your mind refuses to let something go, even years later? Not because you want to relive it, not because you enjoy the moment, but because your brain keeps whispering. And I quote, "If we understand this, we can make sure it never happens again." End quote from my brain. Literally. This whisper feels logical, right? Responsible, protective. The whisper is control. And for a long time in my life, control felt like safety. I'm a huge overthinker, always have been. But I didn't wake up one day and choose that. It was built. It was built through trauma. It was built through loss. It was built through an environment where mistakes carried real consequences. When you live long enough in situations where things can go sideways fast, your brain adapts. It learns to replay. It learns to analyze. It learns to scan the past threats. The problem is, the past doesn't change. And yet for years, I kept trying to control it anyway. Welcome to the Mental Pit Stop podcast. I'm your host, Grover. And today in episode 10, we're going to talk about controlling the controllables. Not because it's easy, not because we've mastered it, but because learning where the lane is can actually change how heavy life can feel. Here's something that took me years to understand, and still working on it to this day. Overthinking isn't weakness. It's a survival skill. It's what happens when your nervous system decides the world isn't predictable enough to relax. After trauma, your brain makes a quiet deal with you. If I stay alert, if I replay this enough, maybe I can protect you next time. That's your brain talking. So for me, it brings me back to conversations. It brings me back to moments I wish I would have handled differently. It brings me back to decisions I second-guessed long after the outcome was locked in. For me, letting go felt unsafe because letting go felt like lowering my guard, letting my guard down. And lowering my guard felt, for me, like I was being irresponsible. No one really talks about that part. People tell you, move on, stop dwelling on it. That's not right. But when control has kept you alive, emotionally and literally, letting go feels like betrayal. So instead of letting go, I carried everything, even the things that were not mine to carry. This showed up consistently for me racing, often. I missed a breaking point. One small mistake. Suddenly, the race wasn't mine. The track didn't feel right. I was racing my own thoughts, mentally beating myself up lap after lap. The car was capable. The race wasn't over, but my focus was gone. In racing, you can't drive forward while staring in your mirrors. We talked about that in a previous episode. And life works exactly the same way. When you're stuck racing the past, you miss opportunities. You drain your energy. You punish yourself for lessons already learned. For years, I believed that holding on to mistakes was accountability. It wasn't. It was self-punishment disguised as responsibility. Control versus responsibility. This is where things really get tangled for me. I confuse control with responsibility. I believe that if something went wrong, it must have been my job to protect it. Other people's reactions, other people's decisions, outcomes shaped by factors I never even touched. Trauma blurs those lines. Like having a ghost in front of you, you can't see. You start carrying weight that was never yours. Because you care so deeply, you convince yourself that carrying it is the right thing to do. But here's the truth I had to face. Responsibility has boundaries. Control doesn't. Control just keeps asking for more energy, more guilt, more shame, more replays. until you're exhausted, mentally and physically. I want to talk about Operation Endurance for a minute, the final 6 hours. Physically, I wasn't tired. I could have probably gone a few more hours. Don't quote me on that. I was fatigued. I had a lot on my mind. It was a new track, a new car. The finish line looked very close. I started focusing on what was going to be the reaction when I finished. Here's the part that surprised me, though. The doubt of finishing never entered my mind. I wasn't tired. Not once did I think, I can't do this. Unlike Operation Endurance, I felt I was fully mentally and physically prepared. Unlike hastily saying, hey, QC, I'll stream with you for 24 hours. I was not prepared, and I only lasted like 13 hours. What showed up instead was something quieter and heavier, overthinking. Thoughts like, what will the viewers think? Did I just waste all this time and effort of planning this 34-hour event to have no one watch? What if I wasn't good enough? What if my racing wasn't good enough? What if people stopped watching? That was the control trying to sneak back in. Not over the event, over perception, over something I could never truly manage. I remembered being frustrated with myself, and often people in the chat said, it's been a long time. Don't get frustrated. I felt like I was failing, but because I knew I could do better. That frustration wasn't weakness. It was pride colliding with exhaustion, mental exhaustion. Physically, I felt like I was 25 years old, living the best life because of you. And this is where something important happened. Those thoughts didn't last until the end. They whispered and they faded. Why? Because of people like you, people in this community. Messages of encouragement, support, being present. Ever since that event, my Discord and the YouTube have taken off, and I'm so excited about what the future will bring. People showing up, lifting each other up, not tearing each other down like we often see in the real world. That moment reminded me, control is loud. Community is grounded and louder. What actually is in your control? Here's what is in your lane. And these are a few notes that I wrote down for myself, and I look at this in my journal sometimes. What I can control for today in my lane is the effort I put into for today. How you talk to yourself after mistakes. Whether you reset or you spiral out of control. How you respond when things don't go as planned. And for me, when things don't go as planned, I normally don't bounce back very quickly. But I've learned more about myself in the last year in this community than I have for so many years. Here's what's not in your control. The past, other people's opinions, how someone else interprets your intentions. Just like Coach Luke's video that he put out on racing side by side with Rory, and often in the lower lobbies, people think, oh, a little contact and it was done on purpose. Those aren't always the intentions until you look at the replay, right? When my mind starts racing, I come back to one question. What is actually mine to manage right now? That question never fixes everything, but it can certainly slow down the spiral that my mind often goes into when I'm overthinking. The pit crew community and staying grounded. Trauma tries to convince you that you have to carry everything alone. That asking for support is weakness. That connection is risky. And that's been a big one for me. I put a lot of people out of my life because that connection is risky, because I'm afraid of losing more people I care about. My experience, especially in the military, taught me the opposite, though. You survive because of the people beside you. You notice when someone is off. You check in. We do buddy checks. You don't leave anyone behind on the battlefield or in the race. That's what the pit crew here represents. Not perfection, presence, and consistency. A reminder that healing doesn't happen alone. I've noticed something about this community as well, and I don't think we talk about it enough. When someone shows up vulnerable regardless of whose Discord it is, in a mental wellness Discord channel, people don't show up to issue advice or they aren't telling you what they should do. Maybe some people will make recommendations. Be kind to yourself. Take some rest. But often it's people in the community that show up with recognition. Someone saying, yeah, I've been there. And that matters more than we realize, because trauma teaches us that vulnerability is dangerous. That if we show cracks, we lose respect, or we be seen as weak or left behind. But I see here is the opposite. When someone shows up and opens up, the room steadies. People don't rush to control the outcome. They sit, they listen. And that alone removes a lot of pressure. It controls the isolation. Connection stabilizes. And sometimes the safest thing you can do for your nervous system isn't figuring it out. It's letting someone else sit in the uncertainty with you. That's what a real pit crew does. Not perfection, just being present. Before we close this out, I want to slow things down for a moment and just focus on some things that I have put together and things I'm working on. If you're listening somewhere safe, driving, sitting, walking, perhaps racing, don't text and drive. You don't have to stop what you're doing. You just stop for a moment. Soften your focus a bit. Slow your breathing enough and let it out. No fixing, no forcing to be calm. Just notice where you're at in this very moment. And gently ask yourself, what am I trying to control right now? There's no right or wrong answer, and no answer is going to be judged. Maybe it's an outcome. Maybe it's someone else's reaction. Maybe it's how you think you should be feeling right now. I think I should be feeling tired right now and get ready for bed, but I've got too much stuff to do. Whatever you come up with, just name it. Maybe you put it in the comments below if you're comfortable with that, or share it in my Discord. Then ask yourself a second question. Is this actually in my lane? Is this something I can control? If the answer is no, you don't have to let it go all at once. Just loosen your grip on the wheel. Control usually shows up as tension in a body. And I tell you, this is one I live through daily. The tightness in my shoulders, my clenched jaw. If you ever watch me stream and about to crash, I'm sure you can see my tension in my body. I do try to do my breathing exercises to help my body relax, but due to my neck and my back injury, my body is always tight and always in pain. And I've come to live with it. I do the best that I can by doing what helps me feel better, relaxation. As you breathe out, imagine giving yourself permission to stop managing what was never yours. You're not quitting. You're conserving energy for what really matters. That's the pit stop, not stopping the race. Just making sure you're still connected to yourself before continuing. In closing, I just want to say, please don't think this as something I've mastered. My podcast is something I work on every day. I have my good days, I have my bad days, but thankfully, those that are in the pit crew lift me up every day. I still overthink. I still catch myself replaying moments that I cannot change. But now I notice these things sooner. I notice when I may miss the apex and I may have to readjust. Maybe there's things that I can do better. I choose differently more often now. You don't need control over everything to move forward. You need clarity. I've written down an affirmation in my journal the other day, which reads, I release what I cannot control and I show up fully for what I can. Take the pit stop, reset, and keep racing forward. If you're comfortable to put comments in below or in the Discord or send me a personal message, that's totally fine too. But I have some questions for you. What is something from my past, or your past for that matter, that you keep replaying even though you can't change it? The second one, when I overthink, what am I actually trying to protect myself from? This is one that I've been trying recently to dig into a little bit more often. It's like analyzing the race replay or analyzing your lap. I'm missing something here, but I need to understand why. What is it that I'm protecting myself? Why am I missing that apex? I'm not turning in early enough. The third one, what am I taking responsibility for that may not even be mine? This is one that often I deal with as well from my military experience. The fourth one, in moments of doubt, whose voice do I trust more? My inner critic or those of you in my pit crew? I can tell you it's those in the pit crew rather than my inner critic, because my inner critic is very hard on myself. Right now in this moment, what is truly within your control? Awareness is the win. If you want to put some of those things in the comments, like I said, I'd really appreciate to hear your feedback. If something in today's episode resonated with you, if you felt seen, understood, or less alone, I'd love for you to stay part of this journey. Subscribe, like, follow me in my Discord. There's amazing people in there that share support every day. As we talked about back in episode 1, it's okay to say you're not okay. Strength isn't pretending you have it all together. It's being honest about where you are at today, letting others meet you there. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what is it like driving in the unknown when the future isn't clear. Maybe there's fog on the track, or maybe it's nighttime, you can't see ahead. But we're not going to stop, because stopping is not an option. Remember, it's okay to say you're not okay. We'll see you next time.
I'm not a doctor, therapist, or mental health professional. I'm just sharing my story and the lessons I've learned along the way. If you're struggling, please reach out to a professional or someone you trust.
You don't have to carry the weight alone.